Tyler, what's it mean to have your teammates vote you as the captain?
Man, that was truly a blessing. You know, that was first time I've ever gotten voted captain in the NFL, and I think it just says a lot about how my teammates feel about me. You know, I feel like I don't have to do anything different. Just got to keep being myself and doing what's always kept me here and what's got me here. But I think the biggest thing is just it makes me feel, you know, good about myself. You know, understanding what I bring to the table, understanding how my peers and the coaches and everybody around me views me. And so it's not about me getting lost in that, but it's like a humbling experience for me to kind of understand the position that I'm in this year with our team.
You and Corner have been close for a long time. Is it cool to be sharing that with him?
Oh yeah, it's pretty dope just to be able to share that with him. You know, we have conversations just about how past experiences just from being able to train in a combine and stuff, and now being able to be on the same team. And not only that, but just being able to finally be voted as captains. I mean, I think it says a lot, like I said, about our peers and how they feel about us, but it is a pretty cool experience with us being best friends as well.
What do you see your responsibilities being as a captain now?
I don't have any responsibilities. I think that's the best way to live. You know, just no responsibilities, do as you feel, do as you please, but always try to work to be your best self. And so, I mean, it doesn't mean that I have to overly speak up. It doesn't mean that I have to stay quiet all the time. But, you know, if I see something, it's just about learning how to talk to people. You can't talk to everybody the same. You got to learn how some of them you could be hard on them. Some of them you got to be able to ease your way in the conversation. But at the end of the day, you have the same goal, trying to be able to help them be their best self as well.
Have you been a captain before?
Not in the NFL.
Yeah, how about college and high school?
Yeah. So I've been a captain in college and high school.
Supported by teammates and all that? Or?
Yeah, I think.
Are there still parts of your game that your dad watches and sends you tips on or nitpicks or anything or gives you help with?
Oh, yeah, man, we talk about that all the time. You know, I think the biggest thing is, it's kind of like I said last year, like every year I get to unlock something that I haven't been able to unlock since I've been in college. And so I think for me that's something that's always cool because I can continuously take my game to another level. But a lot of it is just being able to understand our offense and understanding the reads and understanding like when I'm available, when I'm not supposed to be available, how to get open, not to get open too fast, not to get open too late, but being able to do everything within the quarterback's progression and within his reads. So I think it allows me to go back to how I used to play back in the day, even though it's kind of different offenses and stuff like that, but it allows me to kind of be who I always been. I gotta remember what last year was like. Well, I think last year, based off of like a lot of the stuff that we did, I got to go back to being creative, and that's the way that I used to play. You know, when you come to the league, a lot of people don't understand based off of the offenses, based off of the receiver coaches. You have to be able to get to a spot at a certain amount of time, and you can't play within your routes. You can't do certain things, and so last year I just got a chance to be a little bit more creative. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be creative this year, or it doesn't mean that I will be creative. You know, at the end of the day, I kind of get to choose what it is that I want to do and how I can go about, you know, playing receiver all within the offense. Not me going to do my own thing or anything like that, but understanding what Shane accepts and what he doesn't, understanding what Sanjay accepts and what he doesn't, and allowing myself to explore that second nature of ability that I've been blessed with to have in this game.
What are your biggest lessons, Tyler, from the 7 years that you pass on, not just to receivers, but pass on to teammates?
I think the biggest lesson is being able to enjoy it for what it really is, because, you know, as you start to get older and as you start to learn that you're not like in the 20s, like you're 21, 22 anymore like you used to be, you think football is going to be forever. And as you get older and older, it's not that you see yourself on the far end of it, but you just start learning how to enjoy it more. You start understanding that, like how the NFL put us week 1 against the Broncos and how they're trying to hype the game up and make it this big thing. You start really realizing that it's just another game. And all it is about you trying to go out there, be your best self, help your team, do your job, and try to compete at the highest level. And it's learning how to be able to simplify all of that type of stuff. If that was anything I learned in math, it was to simplify. And so now I'm learning how to simplify life and not make it what everybody on the outside wants it to be, but just being able to focus on the bigger picture. And once you simplify it, it becomes a lot easier to not get caught up in all these like thoughts and different stuff that kind of comes your way to where you're spiraling downhill.
So there's no extra emotion emotion going into week 1?
I mean, you got emotion because it's the first game. You know what I mean? But you got to be able to learn how to control everything, you know, because there's so many stories and there's so many things that can get talked about. And at the end of the day, you just got to be able to, like I say, simplify everything and just understand that it's another game. And at the end of this game, it's another game. And at the end of that game, it's another game. And, you know, so you don't want to make games bigger than what it really is. And so you just got to be able to, like I said, balance it out. And everybody balances it out differently. But the thing that I've learned is, regardless if you go into a game super hype, you got to learn how to play like that. If you go into a play nervous and fearful, you got to learn how to play like that. If you're anxious, you got to learn how to play like that. You got to learn how to play in every state of mind. That way you don't feel like you always have to be ready to play. Some days you might not feel like playing, and you still got to learn how to play when you don't feel like it. So that's the biggest thing that I've learned, even with the question that was asked, is learning how to play in all circumstances rather than learning how to play when you feel like you're ready.
So as much as you try and simplify the situations, will it be weird to see Russell on the other side, having played with him for so long?
Yeah, of course. It's always, you know, it's always weird being in the NFL and you get attached to people and you meet people, you meet their families, you become best friends and great friends, and then all of a sudden they just leave. You know, it's hard, you know, because we got to learn how to adapt every day. And in the NFL, it's kind of different because you see people come and go all the time. But in my career, you know, Russ has always been here. And so, of course, it's weird that he's leaving and stuff like that. But that's when you kind of got to renew your mind and shift your mind and be able to understand that you're still celebrating him for who he is and you're still cheering him on. It's just you don't get to see him every day like you used to. But it doesn't mean that the friendship doesn't stay. You still got the friendship. You still got the brotherhood. And you know that he's being able to lead his team the way that he led us here. You know that he's being able to bring the creative ideas, all that different type of stuff. You just don't get to see it anymore. But the thing about it is that's why you got to learn how to appreciate people while they're here. And it's like that even with death. You know, you got to appreciate people for who they are, and what they bring. And the more and more that you do that, the more you understand that at some point in time as people go to heaven or when people go to like new stages of their life, you start realizing like I got the chance to enjoy every minute with this person. Now I get to learn how to enjoy it even though they're not here, but just through long distance conversations.
To that end, one of the subplots going into Monday night's game is how Russell's going to be received by the Seattle fans. Showing on the big screen at Climate Pledge Arena for the Sioux Birds the last regular season game. There was some news.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have any idea how you might be received and how do you think you should be received?
I have no idea because I can't control what anybody else says or what anybody else does. But I know that when I see him, go give him a hug, talk to him, all that different type of stuff, like wish him good luck, not only in this game, but for the rest of the season and for the rest of his career as we continue to talk, you know, outside of football and stuff like that. But I mean, Russ has done so much for this community, even being able to start the school that him and his wife Sierra started. I mean, that's awesome, and that speaks volumes. I don't even know the first steps of how to start a school or even who to talk to or any of that. And so just everything that he did, everything that he brought, even here he was Walter Payton Man of the Year. You know what I'm saying? So that says a lot about what he's done in this community. We heard about the things that he did when COVID had ended up coming up at first, and they were given to a lot of big places just to be able to help out as much as they can. I mean, at the end of the day, I get it. It's football. It's competitive. You never want to see people leave. But you got to understand that everybody has to do what's best for them. And that's what you have to be able to learn about this life is you got to cheer people on. You know what I mean? You can't get mad that people go to another team and this, and this. And, I mean, we're fans, right? So we learn it the hard way. I'm a fan when it comes to NBA. I get mad when people leave because I want them to stay on the same team, right? But at the end of the day, you got to be able to separate the man from the player. And you got to understand that everybody's trying to do what's best for them. And all you can do is hope that they win and cheer for them to win. And so, I mean, that's really how I feel about it. I think that Seattle should cheer him on, you know, for everything that he's done, helped bring a Super Bowl to this community, all that different type of stuff. Like, he's an amazing guy.
What have you seen from Geno Smith in the last month and his winning the quarterback job here?
Man, I mean, Geno's been Geno, man. Like, he's a great dude. The players love him. Like, he talks to each and every person. We have relationships with him, talk with him outside of, like, this type of stuff. Like, even in the off season, like, I couldn't tell you how many times me and Geno played Call of Duty together. Like, and it's funny because, you know, when you play the video game, people are just like, why are you playing a game? But it's like you really learn how to be able to connect with your teammates. You know what I mean? You learn, like with Call of Duty, I don't know if you ever played it before, but when you get in Warzone, you got to have strategies and people got to play their roles and their parts. And so you learn a little bit about each other when you come out here on the field. And so when it comes to just being around Geno, like, man, he's a great dude, great conversations. We could talk about anything or whatever, but his approach to football, I mean, you could tell he has a different mentality. It's the same mentality that he's had even when Russ was here. It's just now he gets a chance to finally be able to show what he can do. You know what I mean? Like, he hadn't been able to have a chance to play for a long time. And so not too many players get this opportunity to not play for a while, and now you finally get to come back and be a starter in this NFL league. And so for him, I mean, I'm truly excited for him being able to get his shot and just being able to have him ready to go.
Is making the Pro Bowl as a receiver important to you?
It was important to me until I realized I probably would never get voted in as a receiver, and then I learned how to celebrate myself. That was just, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not the prototype when it comes to a receiver. I'm not tall, I'm not whatever it is that they want me to be. And so for me, I just learned how to be able to celebrate who I am and focus on the people that do celebrate me, right? So instead of trying to look for everybody to say, oh, Tyler's this or Tyler's that, or look like, well, let me learn how to celebrate the fact that I got voted in the Ring of Honor at my college. Let me celebrate the fact that I have teammates that think I am good enough. Let me celebrate the fact that they got to vote me captain. Let me celebrate the fact that I'm in this position playing in the year 8 and I'm still able to showcase my talent. So I just learned how to celebrate myself to say, hey, good route. Like, hey, good job. Like, I don't need people to tell me, like, hey, bruh, great route. I could tell myself great route. Like, as much as the last 2-3 years, I thought I would have a chance to be a Pro Bowl receiver, and I didn't. And all that does is when you have expectations, you get left with disappointment if it doesn't work out. So instead of me having expectations, I just learned how to tell myself, whatever happens, I already know you're going to go back to the drawing board and get yourself right. So now I don't get caught up in that stuff as much as I did. I just go play.
What do you think of the expectations around this team? I mean, you got here right after they just played the Super Bowl and all that. You've been here longer than anybody, and there's always been these high expectations. And this year, maybe the outsider kind of questioning what's going on.
Hey, if they don't think that we're going to be good, we ain't got nothing to lose. Like, those are the scariest teams to play against. It's teams that ain't got nothing to lose but everything to gain. You don't have to get caught up in the media because nobody cares about you. They're not talking about you. Not you guys. You guys care about us. But I'm saying the outside people outside of the Seahawks, I think, we got a different team. And because of that, everybody has their own opinions of who we are or who we're going to be and stuff like that. And if it turns out to be like that, then all they're going to say is, I told you so. But what if it doesn't turn out to be like that? Then all of a sudden you're just shifting everybody else's perspective. And so for us, I think all we got to do is just buy into what it is that we're trying to do, understand how to push each other, understand how to be able to go to a different level. Everybody else, they don't see what we see every single day. They don't grind the way that we grind or even see how better we're getting each and every day. You guys got the chance to be able to see it, for those who were here when we were practicing camp. Y'all just didn't report it as much, which is good, right? But y'all got to see how far we've come from when we first started to where we are now. Not everybody else who's looking in on the outside. So at the end of the day, probably some media people don't even believe what they say. They just got to find a story that's going to work and that's going to sell and that's going to get clicks. But for us, we just got to believe in ourselves.
What strides do you think you have made since day one till now?
Man, I think we've done a lot better in just a lot of different areas. I think that I really don't want to give stuff away because, teams and stuff be listening to this type of stuff. So I'll tell you when we outside of this.
Think you guys can win a championship?
Do I? Like, it might not be the way that other people want teams to win a championship, but I honestly do. I honestly do. And that's why I'm ready, and I think we're going to prove it. I think we're going to showcase everything that we're about on this team. But everybody has an idea of how you're supposed to win a Super Bowl. And, me and you talked about it a little bit before. There's not an ideal way to win it. You got to have a little bit of luck, too. You can't just – it's not always like everybody does everything right. You get a little lucky along the way, and you hope that it falls into your place. But at the end of the day, I think that as long as we continue to make strides and take steps forward, man, ain't no telling what we could do.
What do you think Derek Young did to make the roster?
I think Derek just did what he always did. He came in. He showed us that he was fast. He showed us that he was physical. He showed us that he was going to be available. that the quarterback can be able to make throws to him. You know, like I said, everybody doesn't get to watch him when he's in camp. He was making a lot of great plays in camp. And one of the biggest things that we look at a receiver is, can he also block? And he be blocking his butt off. You know, and so you want receivers that's going to be hungry. You want receivers that's going to come in, especially as a rookie. And so when you see the mindset and you see the way that he's playing already as a rookie, it almost gives you like, man, this dude has so much potential. Like, imagine now when the coaches can tell him some stuff. Imagine now when you have players to share knowledge with him, how far he can take it. And so just being able to see how he's come in as a rookie, I mean, him making the team, that says a lot. You know, but not only that, he still listens. He still takes coaching. And that's the biggest thing about this league is, can you still take coaching regardless of how much success that you've had too?
What's it been like having Sherman back around?
Man, having Sherman around is dope, man. Like, Sherman was another guy that when I first got here, man, I used to go against him every single day. And you listen to him, you learn from him, you kind of hear some of the things that he has to say, got to watch him match up against people, even Julio, AB, like, you know, a lot of the great receivers. And so being able to have him come back in, you know what type of guy he is and you know how valuable he is just to be able to be around you. Doesn't even have to be playing. It's just the fact that he's there. Guys are like, hey, bro, I know I grew up watching you. You know, and now he can share his knowledge. He could be able to talk about certain things that maybe as a receiver I shouldn't hear, but the DBs are like, oh, okay, like, I see what you're saying. I could do this, I could do that. Like, you never know how valuable guys are when they come back until they come back. And you're just able to see, like, that same atmosphere. So guys are just now seeing it for the first time, but I was here and I was in it. So I got to see a lot of it, and now him coming back, I mean, that's amazing.
There's a certain perception about Richard Sherman, I think, for some fans who go back to 2016 and, you know, blowing up when you guys threw it on first and goal from the one or whatever, and, you know, a lot of people were, I think, put off. Well, how would you compare the reality of Richard Sherman, seeing him in person, dealing with every day, versus the perception of things?
Richard Sherman is probably one of the best people in the NFL I've ever met. And that's just me saying, like, when I tell you when I first got here, Sherm would be working with people ever since I got here and was playing with them. Regardless if they were going to make the team or not, he was out there staying with them, working on them, talking to them, helping them with technique. Didn't matter, you know, because at the end of the day, they might not have fit this team, but they fitted another team, and they were able to take it there and play. Like, Sherm didn't look down on people or none of that type of stuff. Like, the Sherm that fans and everybody else was able to see was the competitive Sherm, the Sherm that didn't want to lose, the Sherm that would do anything to be able to win, the Sherm who would be on the sideline trying to make sure that everybody had their stuff together because he was trying to keep everybody accountable, not only himself. And so when you have people that want to win and that knows what it takes and knows how to be able to get there, you learn how to be able to accept that type of leadership. And so, I mean, yeah, it's different because people only see what they see on TV. Oh, he's doing this, oh, blah, blah. But they don't understand the passion that comes from that. When they see how much he cares for us and how he helps people, how he might watch film with people, how he talks to us about life, he gives us wisdom. Like, one of the best things he told me when I first got here was, you're going to lose more than you're going to win in practice, but it's going to be so much easier in the game. And so just hearing that, like, of course I had to go against the defense every day. And so it was like, don't get discouraged because you might feel like you're not winning, but then you go into the games and you're like, bro, I'm killing it. And so it's like, it's those type of vets that you need on your team because they need to understand that it still matters to you even after you get paid. You know, what happens if you get paid and then you don't say nothing? Now it looks like they don't care anymore. They got their money, they're done. That's not Sherm. Sherm cares. And so that's why I said if he didn't care, then Sherm wouldn't be here right now. But Sherm is here still helping. He got a job with Amazon, but he's here still helping, still want people to be better. That says a lot about his character and who he is.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah.